I'm going to start this video with what I think a lot of people will see as a weird reference or a weird point. The topic for today's video is, I think that people from rich families come from the most disadvantaged background. I am not one of these people, right? I've explained my story many times. I'm not from a rich family at all. I'm not from a rich background. I'm me. I run my own businesses, but that's all the money I've got, right? A little bit of cash so far that I've been able to earn myself. No hand-ups, no handouts, no leg-ups. Fairly decent work, and again, making my own way in the world. Obviously, guys, I am not rich, but the mentality that comes with building your own business at aged 20, and actually a bit younger in the past, it means that you're going to attract a certain sort of person into your life. And for me, in a lot of ways, that has been richer people, right? Richer kids, I suppose, when I was growing up. And even at this stage of my life, right? Richer teenagers and obviously people in their young 20s. This is naturally your audience, the people that you fall in line with. Because whilst they've kind of inherited that knowledge and wealth, they share the mindset that you have. That, I think, is a great advantage. Naturally, your parents who are rich, or your family who is rich, didn't get rich from not knowing anything about money. They've probably had to learn at some point in the past what they know. And for a lot of people, you know, their parents are the first time, maybe even in their family, getting rich. And they've learned what they know. It's helping them to make their way. And whilst the kids may have learnt some knowledge in this field, they don't have the skills to facilitate it. What I mean by that is they know how to manage money once they get it, but they don't have much of a knowledge how to actually earn it themselves. When I was growing up, we never had the luxuries in life, but things were okay, right? Everything that I learnt about money, for the most part, I had to learn by myself. And what that means is, the money that I've got, like I say, I have earned. For me, the past couple of years have been business as usual. What I mean by that is you start to buy your own stuff, right? You get your own clothes when you obviously turn into a teenager and an adult. You get your own, I don't know, everything that you want to pay for, your own house, your own rents, blah, blah, blah. You pay for that all yourself. And it's a big divide that I'm seeing in the friends in my sort of more prosperous friendship group who come from rich families and the ones that are starting to have made it themselves. The divide is this. One section of this group seems to completely understand the way that things are going to be in adult life, whereas the other seems to be struggling. Naturally, with a topic like this, we are making generalizations, but on a general basis, like I say, my friends who have started to make their own business, make their own money, get their own jobs, whatever, they get it. And as long as they keep working hard on what they're doing, as they grow older, and for the time being, life is going to improve for them. For the people who come from these already middle-class families or whatever, there's an opposite trend I see. For people like myself, the lifestyle that can be bought on only £2,000 or £3,000 a month is pretty impressive. You can have a car, you can afford a place, and you see yourself going up in the world. People from these more privileged backgrounds, they've been living a life on more money than that. But it's not money they've earned themselves. And naturally, as they get older, their parents will not be paying for this stuff. This creates a situation kind of opposite to me. Let's say, for example, in my business, let's say I have a month where I make £2,000 or £3,000, for example, right? I'm really happy with that. That can get me everything that I want, within reason. Of course, it's not going to get me some of the more fancy things, but you get the point, right? It's going to give me a really decent quality of life. For them, though, at that £2,000 or £3,000, compared to what their dad earned and their mum combined, they're taking a lifestyle loss. Now, perhaps this is a long intro, but there is a point to today's topic. The point is, you get to a point in life where even if you've had the best upbringing possible, right, with the nicest abilities and facilities and all that sort of stuff, that was a life provided by your parents. It was never going to be sustainable because, naturally, they're going to want their freedom, they're going to want their hard-earned pickings, and so they should. That's why you work, right? I don't know of any parents who do not want well for their kids, but there must become a point in life where it's like, you have to do things. And even if your parents, because I've seen this sometimes too, people are fortunate enough to have really good parents who have the means, because by the way, it's not bad parenting if you can't afford it, but if you can, right, you want to make your kids' life easy. So they have the means, and basically they continue to pay for their, what would have been child, I suppose it is still a child, into its adulthood. Now, the children of these parents are the ones that seem to think they have it really good, right? Because, well, free life, right? They can naturally, due to, well, parents' money and, parents' experience, it's going to come with that. Parents' experience, parents' work, parents', life that's built up. They can have a much more prosperous life financially than what even the likes of me, who runs my own businesses, can. So it's great on the one hand, but you lose two things in this process. Obviously, we can't help where we're born, we can't help who we're born to. But when we take this privilege for granted, we lose a lot of the experience that we would have otherwise gained. I'm not saying that it's meaningful, I'm not saying that it matters, but I will admit the struggles that I have faced is what, and I know a lot of people say it, it's just a lot of people's opinions, it's not necessarily what I believe, but people say it. People say, oh, you're so wise. Why is that? It's not because I was able to sit there and have parents figure it all out. That's the reason why it is, right? Because you had to find out, because if you didn't, you'd have been in a worse position by the time you grew up. And I know people from poor places, and that is the truth, right? They ended up worse than the parents were because, well, they obviously didn't get the education that perhaps a rich family would have given and the financial know-how. The value, though, what I'm trying to say is, that's going to come from you. You're going to need to create that. If you want to have genuine respect in the world, it's not really going to come from who your dad is. It might do a bit, but you ain't getting the same respect as him. I suppose my point here is a simple one. If you want the genuine value and meaning, it's coming from you, right? It ain't coming from who your parents are, what they've done. That's great, and I'm proud that you've had that experience, but there comes a point where you need to admit it's time to do it for yourself. Now, what that point is and what it is that you do, I'm not sure of. But my point is this one, right? It's great to come from a privileged background. I wouldn't know, but I can only assume. You'll have had experiences that people like me won't. But now, coming to adulthood, it's your job now to take those skills and run with it. It's a great quote that I heard. I can't remember who said it, but I'll give you the quote, roughly, right? I'm not saying it's going to be accurate, but something along the lines of this. If a poor kid, or a kid from a disadvantaged background, has ambition, they will become a millionaire. If a kid from a more privileged background has ambition, they will become a billionaire. And I think that's true. I want to instill and share a message of meaningfulness and a message of value. And my point for today's one is this. As you grow up, you get two choices. You get the choice to live in the mould of somebody else's greatness and achievements, or you get the choice to carve your own. What I'm trying to say today is this. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter who you are. But if you're above the age of what? We'll say 19, because I do believe you might need a bit of time to transition. Past that age, who you were as a child, how you were brought up, it bears little relevance as to who you can become. Naturally, we are a product of our experiences, so it's going to have some meaning. But overall, I see it time and time again. I come from this background, or I'm this, so I can't do that. And to a lot of people from a lot of backgrounds, it is about breaking that mould. I don't know how I'm trying to explain the point here, but I think most people will kind of understand what I'm saying. You grow up in a certain way, but once that growing up phase is done, the excuses must also stop. I want to bring this video full circle before the end, and I started off with what people might call a weird statement, when I said that people from richer backgrounds are actually more disadvantaged. The value in what you can be, the value in what you can provide, goes not off, again, who your family is, maybe to an extent, because there is always the option for leg ups and hands up, but in life, your genuine meaning is based on what you can provide. When you come from these backgrounds where you are not pushed, you might have a better education, right, and all that sort of stuff, but you're not pushed to do the work as much. I think it creates a situation where you don't have to try, so you don't. If you don't try, you won't achieve, naturally. And not everyone's about achieving. That's obvious, that's a fact. But, like I say, there's people who I know who come from richer backgrounds who want to be in my position now. Because of the businesses that I've got, because of the fact that even this channel's picking up, right? They want to see this level of success in their own life. But until they realise it's not the fault of the parents all the responsibility, they're not going to do it. Obviously, I don't know how you guys grew up, so it wouldn't be me for me to say. But there becomes a point where you have a choice, like I say. You continue in the mould of someone else, and the benefits and drawbacks, because it's not going to be all good, that come with that, or you decide to change the mission, right? You come on a different path. Some might say it's scary, and especially if you didn't have to think about these things. You know, for me, like I say, I started my first money-making business, where I actually made some money, about 8 years ago, and I'm only 20. No, I was about 13, so perhaps 7 years ago, just under, or just over, you know, around that time. You get the point. So, yes, it didn't make me a fortune. Yes, it's not the business directly that I do today, but it taught me a lot about what I know about making money. So you may have less experience due to no necessity, right? You didn't have to worry about these sorts of things. You could afford what you wanted anyway. But for people who wonder, why is my life not going the way I want it to? Understand that, whilst a lot of people may disagree with me for this, as someone from a, I think, fairly alright, as in, you know, fairly well off background, you're at a slight disadvantage. You don't need to work as hard, you won't work as hard probably for that reason. But if you can acknowledge this problem, perhaps this fault you might say, I think it becomes easier to understand why things aren't working for you. You need to understand that the people who you're competing with, people who want to make businesses work too, they're not doing it for fun. For 90% of people who start businesses, some, it might be, maybe less, maybe like 70% of people, maybe 50%, I don't know. But my point is, not all businesses are started for fun. It's not all passion projects. For some people, it's a genuine attempt at change. It's their last attempt at change. Because they've realised there's no attempt at getting a good job, they've not got the skills, they've realised they need to make some sort of change in their lives. And that's what it is. So yeah, you're going to have a challenge. Yeah, it's going to be a big change if it's not what you're used to. But, like I say, necessity breeds change. Growing into an adult, for most people, even if you come from a fairly middle off background, your parents either won't or possibly can't afford to pay for you anymore as an adult. Why should they? If you don't want to be caught in a trap of a lifestyle that you've never been used to, never wanted, you've got to start doing some work towards changing that. You know, it might be your first time doing it, but I have people ask me all the time, like, how do I get a business as successful as you? The only answer I can think of is to play it the same way that I did. Obviously, the only experience that I'm going to know is the experience that I have. And what experience do I have? What's got me to this point, right? What led to this journey in life that I'm on? Well, for me, the only advice that I could say, irrespective of any business, a general piece of advice, work on things like your future depends on it. Because like I say, when you're competing in the broad market with people like me and people probably from even more difficult backgrounds, their future does depend on it. It's not some sort of a project where they do a bit of work and if it doesn't work out, it's always fine because, you know, their parents will bail them out. It's not like that. Because you're competing with these people, you have to work like them. And that means oftentimes working very hard. So what does it take to break the cycle? It takes an acknowledgement that as you grow up, and rightly so, your future is in no one's hands but your own. Are you willing, because it is a choice, to be the change, to positively influence your future? Because it ain't on anybody else. You're not going to get any handouts, you're not going to get any leg ups. It is difficult. There's been times where I wanted to quit, there's been times where I have quit and come back a couple of years later. There's been times where I didn't come back a couple of years later. There's been, you know, all this sort of stuff, you get the point, right? That's what it takes. So if you've got that mindset, if you're willing to do it, that's what's going to change your life positively. Looking at the genuine mistakes of your life, not your parents, not the positives of your parents, looking at what skills you have to leverage and how that can help you going forwards in your path to success. Because by being raised right up to a point, your parents, mine too, have done their best, right? If you've been raised to this point, you've made it. Use those skills, leverage them, and make your parents proud of you, instead of always wanting someone to make something for you. That's it for this one. Let me know your thoughts. I'm not sure if this one will be liked or not, I don't know. I want to hear it in the comments. Thank you for letting me talk to you about this, if you enjoyed. That's it for this one. See you soon. Goodbye.